Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the fascinating topic of why Canada, despite its massive size, has a relatively small population. I mean, we're talking about the second largest country in the world, right? So where is everybody? You'd think with all that space it'd be like a giant welcome mat for people looking for a place to call home. But as we'll see, it's a little more complicated than that. Get ready to explore the complex interplay of history, geography, and social factors that have shaped Canada's unique population distribution. Before the arrival of Europeans, Canada was home to a diverse mosaic of Indigenous peoples, each with their own unique cultures, languages, and relationships with the land. These communities thrived in various regions, from the coastal areas to the vast plains and dense forests. They developed sophisticated systems of governance, trade, and spirituality that were deeply intertwined with their environment. It's important to remember that Canada as a concept didn't exist yet. The land was a tapestry of distinct nations, each with its own territories and ways of life. These nations had established complex networks of alliances and trade routes that spanned the continent. These were distinct nations with their own ways of life. They engaged in activities such as hunting, fishing, agriculture, and gathering, which were not only means of sustenance but also integral to their cultural and spiritual practices. Their knowledge of the land was profound, passed down through generations. However, the arrival of Europeans in the 16th and 17th centuries brought about a wave of devastating change. The initial encounters were often marked by curiosity and exchange, but soon the dynamics shifted dramatically. European diseases, against which Indigenous populations had no immunity, decimated communities. Smallpox, influenza, and measles spread rapidly, causing catastrophic loss of life and disrupting the social fabric of Indigenous societies. The fur trade, while seemingly economic, further disrupted traditional ways of life and led to increased conflict. Indigenous peoples were drawn into global trade networks, altering their economies and social structures. The competition for resources and alliances with European powers often led to intertribal conflicts and shifts in power dynamics. The impact of colonization on Indigenous populations is a dark chapter in Canadian history. The imposition of foreign governance, land dispossession, and the introduction of European legal and social systems undermined Indigenous sovereignty and ways of life. Forced assimilation policies, residential schools that sought to erase Indigenous languages and cultures, these left deep scars that continue to impact Indigenous communities today. Children were taken from their families, forbidden to speak their languages, and subjected to harsh conditions and abuse. The legacy of these schools is a painful reminder of the attempts to eradicate Indigenous identities. Understanding this history is crucial to understanding why population distribution looks the way it does. The resilience of Indigenous peoples in the face of such adversity is a testament to their strength and determination. Today, Indigenous communities are revitalizing their cultures, languages, and traditions, and are actively working towards healing and reconciliation. Recognizing and respecting their history is essential for building a more inclusive and just future for all. European settlement in Canada largely followed a familiar pattern, hugging the coastline and focusing on areas most suitable for agriculture. The southern regions, with their relatively milder climate and fertile land, became the hubs of population growth. Think about it. If you're arriving from Europe, are you heading straight for the frozen north? Probably not. Cities like Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, all strategically located along waterways and transportation routes, flourished as centers of trade and industry. This pattern of concentrating settlement in specific areas left vast swaths of the country sparsely populated. Let's be real, Canada's climate isn't exactly known for being, shall we say, hospitable year-round. The country is famous for its long, cold winters that can last for several months, blanketing cities and towns in a thick layer of snow. The further north you go, the more extreme the conditions. In these northern regions, temperatures can plummet to bone-chilling lows, and the snow can pile up to several feet high. We're talking long, harsh winters, short growing seasons, and a landscape that is often frozen solid. The growing season is so short that it can be a real challenge for farmers to cultivate crops, and permafrost that makes construction a challenge, to say the least. Building anything in these conditions requires special techniques and materials to prevent structures from shifting or sinking. The Canadian Shield, a massive expanse of rock covering much of the country, further limits the land available for agriculture. This ancient geological formation is rich in minerals but poor in soil quality, making farming difficult. Then there are the boreal forests, vast and beautiful, stretching across the northern part of the country. These forests are home to a diverse range of wildlife but are not exactly conducive to large-scale human habitation. The dense trees and remote locations make it challenging to build infrastructure and support large communities. And let's not forget the Arctic region, a realm of ice and snow where survival is a daily challenge. The Arctic is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, with extreme cold, limited daylight during winter months, and a landscape dominated by icebergs and glaciers. These environmental factors have played a significant role in shaping where people chose to settle, or rather, chose not to settle. Historically, most of the population has concentrated in the more temperate southern regions of the country, where the climate is milder and the land more fertile, or rather, chose not to settle. Many areas remain sparsely populated, with small communities scattered across the vast, snowy expanse. The harsh climate and challenging living conditions have deterred large-scale settlement, leaving much of the Canadian wilderness untouched and pristine. While most Canadians live in the southern part of the country, there are communities scattered across the vast, remote regions. Life in these areas is defined by its isolation and the unique challenges it presents. Think about it. Accessing healthcare, education, even basic supplies becomes infinitely more difficult when you're hundreds of miles from the nearest city. The Canadian Arctic archipelago, a breathtakingly beautiful but unforgiving environment, is home to Inuit communities who have adapted to its extreme conditions over millennia. Their traditional knowledge and resilience are a testament to the human spirit, but life in these regions remains inextricably linked to the delicate balance of nature. Like many countries, Canada has experienced significant urbanization over the past century. As industries grew and technology advanced, people flocked to cities in search of opportunity. Toronto, Vancouver, and Montreal, with their bustling economies and diverse populations, became magnets for Canadians and immigrants alike. This concentration of people in urban centers further contributes to the uneven population distribution we see across the country. Cities offer a wealth of opportunities, but they also come with challenges: housing affordability, traffic congestion, and the ever-present struggle to balance growth with sustainability. Canada has a long history of immigration, and it's a key factor in shaping the country's demographics. In recent decades, Canada has adopted a relatively open immigration policy, welcoming people from all over the world. And guess where most newcomers tend to settle? You got it, urban areas. Cities offer a sense of community, access to services, and often a network of support for those starting anew in a new land. This influx of immigrants contributes to the vibrancy and diversity of Canadian cities, but it also highlights the ongoing need for policies that promote balanced population growth across the country. So, there you have it, a glimpse into the complex factors that contribute to Canada's sparse population. But let's dive a bit deeper into what makes this country so unique in terms of its population distribution. From its vast geography and challenging climate to the legacies of colonization and the pull of urban centers, it's a story of interconnected forces shaping where people live. Canada's landmass is the second largest in the world, yet much of it is covered in forests, mountains, and tundra, making large areas uninhabitable or difficult to develop. The climate plays a significant role too. Harsh winters and short growing seasons in many parts of the country make it less appealing for large-scale settlement. Historically, the majority of the population has been concentrated in the southern regions, close to the US border, where the climate is milder and the land more fertile. Understanding these factors is crucial, not just for trivia night, but for grappling with the challenges and opportunities facing Canada in the 21st century. The legacies of colonization have also left their mark, with Indigenous communities often located in remote areas facing unique challenges and opportunities. How do we ensure that all regions of this vast country thrive? This question is more relevant than ever as we look towards sustainable development and equitable growth. Balancing economic growth with environmental sustainability is a delicate act, especially in a country with such diverse ecosystems and natural resources. These are questions Canadians continue to grapple with, and understanding the country's unique population distribution is a crucial piece of the puzzle. The urban-rural divide, the need for infrastructure in remote areas, and the preservation of natural habitats are all part of this ongoing conversation. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more interesting content. See you next time. Your engagement helps us bring more insightful content to you. Thanks for watching.